So let's get right into it. What is college really for? I mean, it's a debate that's been raging for, well, centuries. Is it supposed to be this protected space for pure abstract thinking, the classic ivory tower? Or is it an engine for the economy, a place that should be laser-focused on cranking out skilled workers for the job market? It's a huge question.
And it usually breaks down like this. On one side, you've got the ideal of pure knowledge. The idea that we should pursue truth just because it's there, to expand the very limits of what it means to be human. But on the other side, you've got this very practical demand for job skills, that education's main role is to fuel a modern competitive economy. For a long time, these two ideas have been seen as totally at odds, constantly at war with each other.
But hang on a second. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if this big battle between the practical and the philosophical, what if it's actually a false choice?
Let's explore a totally different way of thinking, a framework where these two goals aren't just able to coexist, but where they actually feed each other in this powerful, self-reinforcing loop. Let's call it the virtuous cycle.
Okay, so here's how it works. Step 1. It all starts when schools build real, practical connections to the outside world, to industry, to community needs. Because they're seen as relevant, society, we're talking governments, parents, you name it, is way more willing to invest in them. And that, of course, leads to more resources, more funding for the schools. Now here's the magic part. Those extra resources can then be plowed right back into funding pure academic research, pushing culture forward, and making those huge fundamental scientific breakthroughs. You see the cycle? Practicality literally pays for curiosity.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? We all have this image of the academic with their head in the clouds, totally cut off from the business world. But is that picture even remotely accurate?
Right, because the big fear has always been that connecting with the real world, especially taking industry money, will somehow corrupt the purity of the research. But let's stop guessing and actually look at the data. And what the research shows is, well, it's pretty stunning. A massive review of studies published in the journal Research Policy found the exact opposite of that old stereotype. It turns out it's not the struggling academics who are chasing industry money. No, the best, the most successful, the most cited scientists are the ones who are engaging the most with industrial partners. It completely flips the script. And we're not talking about a tiny handful of people. Just look at these numbers. One study in the UK found that 44%, that's nearly half, of physical and engineering scientists worked with industry over just a 2-year period. You see similar, really significant numbers in Norway, in the US. This isn't some fringe thing. It's a central part of how modern science actually gets done. Okay, so we've established that top academics are definitely engaging with industry, and it's bringing in vital resources. But that brings up an even more interesting question. Does it matter where that money comes from? Is $1 from the government the same as $1 from a corporation? Well, it turns out the color of that money, its source, matters a whole lot. A really fascinating paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research shows pretty clearly that not all funding is created equal. Who pays for the research deeply shapes what happens next. And check out this contrast. When researchers get more of their money from federal sources, they're much more likely to launch high-tech startups and stay in the university world. But when the funding comes more from private industry, you see a different pattern. More patents that are owned directly by the company, and the researchers themselves are more likely to leave academia and go work for those big firms. The reason for this split really boils down to one simple concept: appropriation incentives. I mean, think about it. A private company is funding research because it wants to own or appropriate the results. It has to see a direct return on its investment, and the clearest way to do that is to own and control whatever comes out of the lab. And you can see this play out in the actual contracts. Federal grants are all about promoting open science. The university and the scientists usually keep control of their inventions. Industry contracts, though, are often much more closed. They'll frequently have a clause that says the company owns all the results, which gives them total say over how that research gets used, published, or sold. So look, this isn't a story about good funding versus evil funding. It's about two different types of money that create two different but equally valuable kinds of outcomes. So let's see how they fit together to build a really powerful symbiotic system. When you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, we get right back to our main idea. That engine of practicality doesn't have to tear down the ivory tower. In a healthy system, it actually helps pay the bills and keep the lights on. So let's look at that cycle one more time. but with our new, smarter perspective. Practical relevance attracts all kinds of funding, public and private. That industry funding is fantastic for creating commercial products and improving things that already exist. At the exact same time, federal funding is busy fostering brand new, game-changing startups. A university that gets good at attracting both becomes this incredible engine for every kind of innovation.
So why does all this matter? Well, it means we have to stop thinking of practical and pure education as enemies. They're partners. A healthy, robust university system needs a diverse mix of funding, public and private, to be both resilient and truly innovative. And when that partnership is firing on all cylinders, it delivers way bigger benefits to all of us in our economy, our culture, and our technology.
And that leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. If we accept that practice and theory are partners in the stance, then the real challenge for us isn't about choosing one over the other. The challenge is figuring out how we design the schools and universities of the future to make that bond, that partnership, even stronger.